vanaf Zandvoort. Sterker nog, vanaf de Heineken 0.0 stand. Welkom bij DRS, de race show. We gaan zo praten met Will Buxton, maar even ook over Zandvoort vandaag, de vrijdag.
Ja, zeker. Nou ja, absoluut belangrijke dag natuurlijk.
Dat kan je bijna niet verstaan, joh. Het is toch niet normaal?
Het zonnetje schijnt, de fans lopen hier.
Het bier is koud.
De hele stand is al helemaal vol van Heineken. Overal zie je oranje. Om het circuit op te komen is al lastig. Ja, ik hou hiervan. Ik vind het geweldig.
Jij leeft ook helemaal op, hè?
Ik leef helemaal op. Ik sleep maar... Nee, ik moet ook even geen alcohol hebben. Ik heb meer dan genoeg gehad. Ja, weet ik. Maar
kan lekker atten, joh.
Als ik dan gewoon eens zo'n slokje neem, denk ik al van... ik zit er alweer lekker in, weet je wel. Dus het is helemaal fout voor mij. Maar ja, ik hou hiervan. Ook ondanks slaap je maar 5-6 uur per nacht. Dit geeft zo'n goede energie. Zo'n lekkere boost geeft dit.
En wat ga jij zo doen? Jij gaat zo naar de studio. En wat is dan een beetje het plan?
Nou, ik doe eigenlijk vrije training 1 ga ik de tribunes op. Een beetje bij de fans kijken hoe de sfeer is, wat ze ervan vinden. Ook natuurlijk een beetje met schuin oog kijken hoe vrije training 1 eruit ziet. Het is natuurlijk droog. Verstappen zal natuurlijk wel gelijk snel gaan en hopelijk snel naar buiten kunnen gaan. Vrije training 2 zal ik vanuit de paddock doen samen met Giedo. Dus
leuk.
Een beetje heen en weer switchen met Coronel die naar pitstraat staat. Dus best wel een drukke dag met Viaplay vandaag. En vanavond hebben we natuurlijk de shakedown show samen met Amber. Dus
hoe laat is die?
Ik ben druk. 8:30 is die vanavond.
Dus ik moet met de trein naar huis.
Je moet zeker met de trein naar huis. Of je moet wachten op mij.
Dat kan ik ook nog wel. Hey, nog wat anders. Kijk, Max die rijdt dan straks vrije training 1. Normaal is dat toch een beetje om aan de setup te werken. Denk je dat hij nu, als hij dit ziet, dat hij even denkt... Nou, fuck it, vrije training 1 ga ik hem even op zijn staart trappen?
Nee, ik denk dat je weet dat Max altijd gelijk er vol bovenop zit. Hij vindt het circuit geweldig. Dus ik denk dat de eerste 10 rondjes, iedereen 10 rondjes gereden heeft, dat hij er al gelijk goed op staat. Je weet, de auto is goed, het circuit is schoon. Want ze hebben natuurlijk net al met Formule 2 gereden en met de andere klassen hier zo. Dus het circuit is helemaal clean. Ja, ik denk wel dat hij even gelijk laat zien, jongens. Ik heb een goede zomerstop gehad, ik ben fit, ik ben fruitig en ik ga ervoor. I'm very happy that Will can join us on our podcast. So happy to be here, that you're here, man. You speak a little bit Dutch?
That's it.
That's it.
That and I know lekker lekker. Because when I was 6 years old, my parents brought me to Efteling.
Ah, okay. So
Efteling is a word as well.
Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Terrified me.
Especially when you're 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I took my son last year and he didn't like it.
I still get nightmares from the dragon.
It is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
Just awful. But I love it. And because I was talking to my mum about coming to the race this weekend, and she said, "Oh, you won't remember, but when you were 6, we went to Zandvoort and we stayed at the Tulip Hotel." And we went to Efteling. I was like, I remember Efteling. Don't you worry, I remember that.
Exactly. No, it's quite special. I mean, we know each other already from the F2, GP2 days, no?
Over
10 years, no?
Long time.
First, let's give Will a proper introduction, because otherwise he's just a guy who's scared for the Efteling and random. So, you're formerly known, or you're actually the F1 broadcaster, is what most people say. It's really funny because a lot of people are new to F1. So let's say my girlfriend, and she knows a few drivers, but she also knows you.
That's mad.
So, if I would have said we have an interview with Logan Sargent, say who, and I said Will Buxton, and she had to refresh her panties.
Really? Okay.
Well, you're quite popular with the ladies as well.
That's mad.
But how did it all started for you? Because you guys known each other for 15 years already.
Yeah.
And you started out...
So I started 20 years ago. I'm a lot older than I look. 20 years ago, I was a print journalist in Formula 1. And then I spent some time out as the press officer for GP2. So when GP2 launched, I was the press officer. So I PR'd Rosberg, Hamilton, those guys. And then I went back to journalism. And one day I got a phone call and they needed someone to do commentary on GP2. And they were like, you know everything about GP2. Do you want to come and do some commentary? So I said, yeah, of course. So I started doing commentary on GP2. Did that for a long time. My commentary got heard in America. They loved it. They asked me to be their Formula 1 pit lane reporter. Went over and did that. 10 years of doing that. And then Formula 1 said, listen, we're doing our own channel. We're really pushing the digital side of the sport. And this was when Liberty took over.
Yeah.
So I went over and started working for Formula 1, doing F1 TV. And then one day, Sean Bratches, who was my boss at the time, says, hey, I need you to go and do these interviews for this show we're doing on Netflix. And I thought they meant I'd be going and interviewing the drivers, because that's what I normally do. So I turn up thinking, interview the driver. No, and they're interviewing me. And so then that
Where's the makeup?
That was Drive to Survive, and that's been a whole another thing. So It's been an amazing 20 years of bouncing from one role to another role, but
it's
all
really
unified
funny because
by
we were
a
just
love of the sport.
We were just sitting here, and a guy comes up to you and says, "You make me love Formula One because of Drive to Survive."
That's mad, isn't
you
it?
never had that. No, you've never made
They,
anyone.
they probably said I hated Formula One when you were still there.
You made me quit watching Formula
Exactly.
One.
It was always in the back, you know.
Here's the mad thing. So Stefano Domenicali said the other week, they were looking at the statistics. They believe that 1 in 3 Formula One fans is what we term a new fan. So they've been watching for less than 5 years.
Yeah.
That means they never saw Seb in a competitive car.
It's unbelievable.
They never even saw Schumacher race.
No.
They now
It's
see me race.
amazing. They don't see you race, yeah. But it's what I think is wonderful about that is Formula One is going out to more people than ever before. There are more fans than ever before. But we also have this great opportunity to be able to share our love, our passion for the sport, but also our knowledge of the history. And all the things that went before, and tell them the stories of Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, and all the way back to Fangio and Jim Clark and guys like this, because there's 70 years of amazing history of the sport.
But I think
it's our job to tell them those stories.
I think also what you say, I think Drive to Survive made the sport even more popular, especially in America, because now we have a lot of races there as well. We have Logan Sargent in the car, in the field here. So I think it's really getting a lot more popular. And what you say, five years ago they only start watching it?
It's crazy.
1 out of 3.
Yeah, 1 out of 3.
Or 2
yeah.
out of
Crazy,
3.
isn't it?
That's insane.
Yeah.
But how did you? Because you're pretty close to the drivers as well. That's a common fact, and we always see them popping by, laughing. But it's also you also need to be kind of critical for the job you've got. Is that a difficult balance sometimes to maintain?
Yeah, you have to be completely objective all the time. You can't have favorites.
Do you
can
have
have-
any favorites?
Listen, I have tremendous respect for anyone that has the skill set, the bravery, the capability to jump in a racing car and do the things that I could only ever dream of being able to do. And believe me, I tried. But of course you have drivers that you like, that you get on with, that you forge a good relationship with. But even still, you still have to be able to give them a hard time if they're not, pulling their weight. Like yesterday, I love Esteban Ocon. I've known him years again through GP2, GP3. And I kept pushing him yesterday in the pen over a question that he just wasn't answering. And he got a little bit upset about it and walked off. And then I saw him later in the day and I said, I'm really sorry about earlier. He said, that's okay, you're just doing your job, man. Like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Like, I've had worse.
But have you got sometimes drivers who later come up to you and say, well, we'll fuck off?
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they know that you're doing your job. And you know that if they're not answering the question, they're doing their job. I hope there's a mutual respect, and I hope that they would know that, certainly me, I would never do anything to intentionally, try to badmouth somebody. I would never create a dislike for somebody and try to tear them down or their reputation down, because these guys are my heroes.
And I think it's also a fine line to see, sometimes you need to be critical, because if they do a shitty job, you have to ask the question.
You have
and if
to.
they do a really good job, you can be like, oh, what a wonderful job they did, and then how good they are,
But it's not about, but it's so funny, especially in social media, because you get 1 week, they'll be like, everyone will be like, oh, Buxton hates Verstappen and all this. And then the next week it's like, oh, he's such a Verstappen fanboy. And it's like, so long as I'm pissing everyone off, then I guess I'm doing okay.
But is it as a driver, because you never drove when he was interviewing, right? Only commentary.
No, I did. I was interviewing.
Yeah, I think in America for sure we worked together. Of
I was
course,
doing NBC or Speed Channel at the time.
NBC, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was he interviewed me.
I was doing commentary on him in GP2. So if he messed up, I'd
He
call
gave
it in
you
the
shit.
race. I would, because I came to commentary with no experience.
Yeah.
So I never learned the rules of what you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So someone like Canamassas or Johnny Cicotto was doing something stupid on track, I would tear lumps out of them.
The good thing he was always positive about me.
I
was
don't
happy.
think you ever did anything stupid.
No.
They always drove beautifully.
Sometimes it's stupid things. That's okay. It's okay.
It's so funny because also with for example, Jules Bianchi, when you were still together, it was always hiccups, always fights, always stuff there,
Always.
but always a mutual respect.
But the Jules thing, that was hard, and that actually taught me a very important lesson about maintaining a level of professional distance.
Instead of
'Cause
being mates.
I was close with Jules. We'd play squash together, you know, go out for drinks and everything together. And I had to report on his accident where we knew the outcome was not going to be positive, and we knew that. And having to give that report on somebody that you were very close with was really, really hard.
How did that
that was
go?
a real lesson.
You were in Japan, obviously, and how did that go then?
So obviously the cameras weren't showing anything, but our technical analyst actually picked out. He could see a flash of red that was underneath the crane, and suddenly the whole tone of the commentary goes down. You go to the Marussia motorhome and you see the expressions of the people there, and everything slows down. And you know, there's a line that I always get, that people always take the piss out of me for this line in Drive to Survive that I said, but it's absolutely true, which is what, you know, when silence falls on a racetrack, you know, when you've been around this business as long as we have, you know what that means, because racetracks are like this. Yeah. There's dance music, there's noise, there's fans cheering, there's the announcement on the tannoys, there's the roar of the racing cars. And when that stops and it's absolute silence, it's terrifying, because you know that something truly awful's happened. Very luckily, that happens very rarely, but it happened at Spa with Antoine, it happened in Japan with Jules. And when those moments happen, when you've done it enough times, you know what it feels like, and it's horrible.
And then you're standing in front of the Marussia box, and then news hits you.
Well, we didn't know for 9 months afterwards.
We didn't know, because Sute also crashed. And he was my teammate. I was the third driver of Zandvoort.
But he told you when he
told me, like, wow, there was something really bad what happened just with Bianchi. So we knew at the time.
Bless him, he stood there on the banks watching the doctors try to help him. It was, you know, and then he came to the media pen and spoke to the world's press. Yeah. And you're like, and when he was there, you could see in his eyes.
Yeah,
and it was, I felt so bad for Adrian that day. They should never have put him in front of us. It was.
And for you to then, you know, adapt yourself from a mate to a journalist, how hard is that?
And also to go from the intensity of excitement, Grand Prix, amazing, to the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
And having to close I remember closing the show as the helicopter was taken off behind me, and he hadn't been taken in the helicopter because the weather was too bad. But it was just, everything just added up, and it was just a very eerie moment. But that's when you're always professional, but there's just something that kind of takes over in those moments. And we love this sport. It's all a game. It's all fun. But when that kicks in, the serious side it automatically takes over.
I think for the both of you, that might be the hardest moment in your motorsport career.
Yeah, for me it was, because I had a hate-love relationship with Bianchi, and for me, in F2 or GP2 that time, we always were fighting, but in F1 we were really good mates. And when you hear that suddenly he passed away, that's something really, really hard. But you learn from it, and you have to get on as well. So, we had the same few months ago with a Dutch driver in Spa.
Of course.
Yeah. It was also tough, you know. And even though I think it's more hard for me now than it was on that time, because now you have kids, now you understand the life of a father and son situation. So it's not easy.
It takes us back to the old quote from Mario Andretti when Ronnie Peterson was killed, which is, sadly, motor racing is also this.
Yeah.
And you have to know that. And it's why we go back to the point about giving drivers a hard time or whatever. Every single racing driver that steps into a car is my hero because of what they do. Because this isn't going and playing a game of football. This is life and death at 200 miles an hour. And it's what makes it unique. It's why we stellify these guys. We put them on a pedestal. We worship them because they're gladiators. They're incredible.
Do you still find the thrills in your job nowadays?
Yeah.
Every single.
Oh, come on, man! Like, it's a 24 race season, right? I have a 6-week-old daughter at home and a 13-year-old daughter at home. You couldn't take the amount of time away from the people you love and the things you do to dedicate yourself to this. And you do have to sacrifice a lot to do it, but it's not a sacrifice because it's a joy. But you could never do it, and you couldn't fake the emotion and you couldn't fake the enjoyment and the happiness if you didn't genuinely love it. And I've always sworn, the day that I beat my pass on the gate and I go into the paddock and I don't get a thrill, I don't get that rush of excitement, that's the day I'll quit. Because A, I should be doing something else, and B, there will be somebody who was like me 20 years earlier that has that passion, has that desire, and that will do a million times better job than I will do trying to fake it.
But do you all do all the races?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So, otherwise, with 6 weeks old.
I used to, but I've pulled it down to 18 races a year now.
But still that's still.
But that's because when I signed up for this, it was 16 races a year, you know, and 12 of them were in Europe.
Yeah.
But you met your wife in an event, right?
I met her in Formula One.
She was Force India. She was.
Yeah. And
because she did marketing from Racing Point.
Exactly. It's mad the number of relationships that get created on this because you're away for so long. I guess it's only natural that you meet people that you get on with and these things can happen and can get forged.
He has a very lovely wife, so he's lucky. Very
Thanks,
lucky.
man.
But I mean,
I'm definitely the lucky one in this scenario.
Denise, after Formula One and you did the endurance racing, but now recently she said, "Hey, it's also time for the family now." Is Miss Buxton onto the same now, or?
Yeah, you are.
Absolutely.
There goes the thrill.
No, I love being a dad. It's absolutely amazing, and my eldest is 13 now, and I think she's really embarrassed by. If I get recognized somewhere, she's like, "Oh, Dad!" I hope there might be a little element that she's secretly proud, but
I'm sure she's proud.
She's really embarrassed by it.
Hey, what do you think about Zandvoort? Yeah, third time in a row.
Man, are you kidding? This place is incredible. I love this place. And I never made it here for F3. I never made it for the Masters. So to come here for the Grand Prix is incredible. The atmosphere is unlike anything. And I genuinely mean that because when you're on the grid, do you remember year one? You were our co-host.
Yeah.
And we couldn't hear each other talk.
No.
The music was so loud. It was like being in a nightclub. I mean, where else are you going to get that? It's so unique, and you've just got this natural amphitheater amongst the dunes. We finish here, we rock down to the beach, have a few drinks, beautiful sunset, great people.
Are you sleeping here as well in Zandvoort?
Yeah,
okay.
the Center Parks.
Okay.
It's fantastic, It's great. And Amsterdam's just down the road. I have a great friend who runs a tattoo shop down there, Atelier de Boer, for anybody that wants a great line work tattoo. Joey de Boer is fantastic. And I go and see Joey every year and I get a new tattoo and hang with my mate and we just chat F1 and it's cool. It's great vibes, great atmosphere.
You immediately get that thrill back now you talk about
man.
it.
And he didn't even check in with his pass. So
Would you like his job? You're doing the interviews.
Yeah, I'm
Big
doing
news.
the interviews
On Sunday.
On Sunday, which is nice for the top 3 drivers. To be honest, to be 18 races away, I would not like to do that. I'm only doing 2, so this weekend and of course Austin I will do.
And Vegas?
No, Vegas. No. If I go Vegas, I will never go home. But no, it's something. I have a lot of respect for you for how you do it. I really liked you from the beginning onwards. But to do it for me every weekend onwards, it's too much.
I think Vegas will be my 300th Grand Prix.
Oh wow!
And,
maybe we should go.
But if I add all my races together, so that's not including the GP2 races or anything, IndyCar races I've done, Le Mans, all of that. I add it all together. I think I'm at like 650, something like that.
Oh,
now,
wow.
In 20 years, which
Probably
is
more than me.
Only Adam Cooper has more, I think.
No, he's got more F1. It's amazing. You see some of the journalists in F1 and they've hit 500 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And they made most of their numbers when it was, 15 races a year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not 25 races a year.
If you start now in 3 years
now,
already.
4 years' time, you're at 100 races.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little quickfire questions. People like it. It's good for the TikTok algorithm.
Yeah.
All right. Answer immediately.
And 0.0 we have now.
It's a 0, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sure, 100%?
Okay. 0%.
Ja, oké. 0%.
De biertjes die komen op tafel voor de luisteraars. Sorry. Ja, we zitten hier in het zonnetje aan bier. Wat Will zegt, dat is een ontzettende thrill. Answer immediately.
I think I understood that.
Yeah, it was half English. All right. Favorite driver of all time?
Senna.
Favorite race of all time?
The 200th GP2 race. It was in Hockenheim, and I ended up with Davide Valsecchi jumping on my back in commentary, piggybacking around the commentary booth. Unbelievable.
I would like to see these 3 drivers from the past on the current grid.
Senna, Moss, Clark.
The best Dutch F1 driver of all time after Max Verstappen.
Not me.
Robert Dornbos.
No, come on.
I couldn't say you. Come on, man. Come on.
I know.
I think it would be Verstappen Senior.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Jos.
Robert. Don't tell you, he'll deck me. He'll deck me.
Gonna send it to him.
He's got an interview at the Red Bull stand later.
Yeah.
Best car livery in F1 ever.
We were talking about this last night. The Ligier from 1993, the one-off, the art car that ran in
it was a nice
Australia.
Very nice one.
I would like to see this circuit back on the calendar.
Sepang.
Favorite food for breakfast?
English
Favorite
breakfast.
food for no. Favorite food for breakfast?
Heineken.
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Favorite Dutch word? Efteling.
Lekker.
Lekker.
The Dutch fans in one word?
Mental.
And Max Verstappen will win all the remaining races this year.
Completely true.
Wow.
Who can stop Max this season?
No one. Who can stop him next season? No one. Max right now is in the most insane form of a driver I've seen since Lewis was at his absolute peak. And there's something astonishing about a driver at one with their car and their team. You know, we're witnessing Jim Clark with Lotus, Ayrton Senna with McLaren, Michael with Ferrari, Lewis with Mercedes. That absolute pinnacle of a driver so at one with his team, so at one with his car, becoming with every passing lap a more complete driver to the point where they transcend. He's a phenomenon. An utter phenomenon.
I think he's also more committed than ever because I know Max for a long, long time. I mean, his father was tuning my go-kart engines. Max was like 3-4 years old, but I spoke to him in the summer. I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" "Yeah, I'm on summer break." I said, "Are you doing some partying?" "Doing great." "No, relax, chill out. I want to be fully focused for the next race in Zandvoort." Normally he was like, "Let's go, we go flat out." But to be honest, I think that's really something. He's so committed this year. Also last year, he's fully on it. That's really nice to see.
It is, but when you see the development, the change, when it just clicks. And there's a lot of Michael in Max.
Yeah.
You know, a first championship won amid controversy, a second that was just completely dominant, and from that point on, just absolutely unstoppable, utterly unstoppable.
But he looks like he's getting better and better and better. And I think the combination Red Bull, the combination with his engineer, the driving, he's so under control. It's unbelievable.
Because here's the question, right? Sergio Perez is by no means a poor driver.
No.
Okay, he's a very good driver. Okay, Max, Lewis, Fernando, probably top tier.
Yeah.
And everyone else a little bit behind. But the level of that Red Bull might well be Sergio's level. And with anyone else in it alongside Sergio, we might be having the greatest world championship of all time, with multiple race winners, not a lot to choose between them. But we're seeing a season of utter domination because Max Verstappen is just on a completely different stratosphere.
Yeah. It's another level.
He's in another universe.
Yeah.
It's not even a different planet, different universe.
And would you be his teammate? Would you like to be his teammate?
Lewis or Fernando? I think they're the only two who you could say at the moment were the complete driver.
Yes, they can come close, but they will never win from him.
No. But everyone says, "Oh, I'd love to see Leclerc next to Max. I'd love to see Lando next to Max." Maybe, but they still have some way to go until they are what we would consider to be the complete driver. There are still too many gaps in their racecraft.
Still, I have really high hopes of Lando. I rate him. For me, I rate him very high.
Can you believe he turned down the Red Bull move, though? Can you believe he signed for McLaren again? Turned that down.
But on the other hand, he did not a bad choice because if you see the McLaren the last few races.
If you're Lando now and Red Bull come knocking again, do you take it? knowing that for maybe 2 years you'll be number 2 to Max, and then Max will probably have enough and walk away?
I will take it.
I'd take it.
I will take it.
I'd take it.
Okay, then we agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And then Zach's got a problem because he's lost Palou. So who do you replace Lando with?
There are a couple. There are a couple on the grid.
All right, I think our time's up. You need to do.
I could stay and talk all day. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. Will can talk.
We got
all
some
day.
Drink,
Oasis stories.
yeah,
Liam Gallagher
man.
is joining us later. Tomorrow, a new episode with Will Buxton, Robert Dornbos, and me.
With special guest Joost Verstappen.
Yes, yeah.
As for now, thanks for listening. Will, thanks for popping by. I
Absolute
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having
Thank
me
you,
on.
man.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
En
Wij
voor
zien
de
elkaar
listeners
sowieso morgen vroeg weer, hè?
Wij zien elkaar morgen vroeg weer. Ja, we gaan elke dag even terugluisteren, terugkijken, vooruitkijken ook. En
Zeker.
Giedo die doet de interviews van de top 3 op zondag. Dus heb je nou nog leuke vragen waarvan je denkt... hey, dat moet Giedo aan Max vragen of aan Lando of wie jij ook maar denkt. Laat het even weten. We doen morgen vroeg een voorspelling voor kwalificatie en de race. En dan mag je 1 iemand veranderen.
Is goed?
Voor de race op zondag.
Jij ook dan, hè?
Ja, zeker. Ja. Maar ik heb hem in 1 keer goed. Zoals het hele seizoen al.
Ja.
Alright, jij gaat naar de studio, jij gaat naar de tribune. Lekker mensen ondervragen. En morgen zijn we er weer.
Wat ga jij doen?
Ja, ik heb geen idee. Ik heb hele mooie passen, dus ik denk dat ik gewoon lekker aan het bier ga
Ja,
zitten.
snap ik. Ja, als je maar niet te dronken bent, hè?
En niet gaan roken, hè?
Nee, niet geroken.
Nee.
Krijg je dat.
Ja. Close.